All right. First off, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh. That's the name of the Father. In the name of Yahweh Shah, that's the name of the Messiah, who people call Christ, right? We finna another Sabbath, great Bible study. All praises. Allah Yahweh about you. All right, we finna go over the stranger today. We finna go over the strangers, right? See what the Bible says. Who is the stranger, right? And then we're going to go over a couple parables with Yahweh Shai, and then we're going to touch on Second Ezra chapter 13 in the Apocrypha. All right, so that's what we're doing today. So we're going to go over the stranger first, right? So a lot of people coming out of Christianity. Can y'all hear me? Can I be heard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of people, when they come out of the Christianity, come into the truth, we read this Bible. The language that we know is English, right? So we read this Bible in English, and we don't have the full understanding that a lot of these words that say the same thing are not actually the same original word. So it could say stranger, right, in the English, but it could be two different words in the Hebrew. So we have to understand who the stranger is and its rules that applies to non-Israelite strangers. And there's rules that only apply to Israelite strangers. And we're going to go over a couple of those, right? So first off, let's go to Exodus chapter 12. We're going to start off in Exodus chapter 12 and verse 43. Stored in the Torah. Oh, I forgot onto you. Ooh. All right. So Exodus chapter 12, verse 43. Now, this Exodus chapter 12, verse 43, it's going to start off. This is the law about the Passover. Who can eat it? Who can't, right? So we're finna get the law on the Passover. In Exodus 12 and verse 43, it reads, and the Lord Yahweh said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. Now, according to verse 43, a stranger cannot eat of the Passover. This is a non-Israelite, right? But if you jump down to verse 48 and 49, it says, we're going to read 48. It says, when the stranger shall sojourn with thee, these two strangers in verse 43 and the stranger that's in verse 49, those are two different Hebrew words. This stranger in 48 can eat of the Passover. The stranger in 43 cannot. So stranger in 48, and the stranger, when he shall sojourn with thee, he will keep the Passover to the Lord. This is an Israelite born outside the land, but he got come back to the land, right? So with what we have to understand with this Bible, these laws were written when we was in the wilderness, right? So we in the wilderness, there were no strangers then with Israelites, but we had to have laws for the people that was gonna fall away through the diaspora, right? So these laws are like it's a beautiful thing where it didn't just cover the people there when Moses was giving out the laws. These laws also covered people that were going to be going off later, right? And it gave them a way to come back. So this is an Israelite. Now, this Israelite could have been a sojourner for many reasons. His father could have just had some kids over there. And then when the kids, he could have act like he didn't want his heritage, right? But his kids, they can come back because they're still Israelites, right? So he let's just say he went over here with his wife and they just did whatever they wanted to do, right? So when them kids came back, they were able to keep the past. They were able to keep the Passover, right? So this verse 48 and 49. And when the stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover of the Lord. Actually, I need to get one verse first. Let me just prove an Israelite is a stranger first. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 25. Leviticus 25 and 35. That'll be the easier route to go. Prove an Israelite is a stranger, then I can show how these verses apply. So we're going to Leviticus chapter 25, verse 35. We're reading 35 and 37. And Leviticus 25 and 35 says, and if thy brother, this is an Israelite, And if thy brother be waxing poor and falling into decay with thee, thou shalt surely relieve him. Yea, though he be a stranger and a sojourner, that they may live with thee. So this is an Israelite being called a stranger and a sojourner, but this is clearly an Israelite. Verse 36, thou shalt take no usury with him. So you can't lend your brother money or with the crazy interest. You can't do that to an Israelite stranger. You can do that to a heathen stranger, right? We're gonna get to that verse, but this is one rule you can't do for an Israelite, right? Verse 36, thou shalt take thou no usury of him or increase, but fear thy God, that thy brother may live with thee. Verse 37, and thou shalt give him no money upon usury, nor lend to him thy victuals of increase. So you're not able to tax your brother, right? You're not able to tax your brother. But let's go to Deuteronomy 23 and 19. Let's see what you can do to the heathen stranger. Let's see if you can tax them. Now there go one stranger. Let's see another stranger with the same law. It's Deuteronomy 23 and 19, and it reads, I'm going to read 19 and 20. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury, right? Verse 20, unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may be blessed in thee and all that thou settest thy hand in the land, whether thou goest to possess it. Now here we see another different stranger. You can tax him, right? You can tax this stranger. Actually, I got it's a verse that says that you can't, like a Israelite. Well, we can get to that next. Let's go back to Exodus 12 and 43, and let's read it again. Now that we know that there are Israelite strangers and heathen strangers, that we can't be one-dimensional and just think that there's there's different types of strangers in the Bible, and rules apply to different types of strangers. So verse 42 says, not 42, 43. So Exodus 12 and 43 says, and the Lord said unto Moses and unto Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover, there shall no stranger shall eat thereof, right? But every manservant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then he shall eat thereof, right? So there you, what's that verse? Talking about the Israelites, because Israelites are not, we're considered servants, not slaves. Can you hear me? Am I okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, Shabbat Shalom. Okay, let me get this verse real quick. Sorry about that, y'all. Shabbat Shalom to everybody that just came in. We need Exodus chapter 21, verse 2. Exodus 21 and 2. And Exodus 21 and 2 says, and if I buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years shall he serve, and the 7th year shall he go out free for nothing. So we know that we can have I got another verse that proves, so a Hebrew Israelite, let's just say we got a homeless brother. I can bid him to come and work for me, but in the 7th year, I got to let him go, and I got to give him enough to get up on his feet, right? Because he can't be my servant forever. But let's see about a non-Israelite, right? Let's see if we can have them servants forever, or do we have to let them go in the 7th year, right? So 1 second. Okay. We need Leviticus chapter 25, verse 44. Leviticus 25 and 44.
$25.
25 and 44, I believe. 25 and 44. 25 and 44 says, both thy bondmen, now we just seen in Exodus 21, they were not called bondmen and bondmaids. Bondmen, when you look this up, means slave man. Bondmaid means slave woman. Now a servant is like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was a servant, but he got to go home. He could leave if he wanted to, right? These bondmen and bondmaids cannot leave. They're slaves, right? Both the bondmen and bondmaids were slave men and slave women, which thou shalt have shall be of the heathen, which are round about you. Of them shall you buy bondmen and bondmaids. So this is not like the Hebrew servant that you let go after 7 years, after 6 years. Moreover, the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall you buy, and of their families that are with you, which you begot in your land, they shall be your possession, and ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession, and they shall be your bondmen forever. For over your brethren, the children of Israel, you should not rule one over another with rigor. Right? So we can't do that to our Israelite brother. Now, this is given a context of these two different type of sojourners or quote unquote strangers in the Bible. We have Israelite strangers, clearly their rules, different rules apply to, whether it be usury or even being a servant, or because the Israelite can't even be a bondman or a bondmaid. They're just considered a servant that you have to let go after and let them get on their feet. Now let's go back. I'm going in a big old circle, but now let's go back to Exodus 12 and 43. Because without reading these verses, we wouldn't have an understanding, and we'll just mix all this together and think it's just talking about one person. So Exodus chapter 12, verse 43. So Exodus 12 and 43, and the Lord said unto Moses, this is the ordinance of the Passover, there shall no stranger eat thereof, right? But in 48, there's a stranger that can eat, the sojourner. 48, and when the stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep, well, let's just read it all the way through, right? So 43, and the Lord said unto Moses, this is the ordinance of the Passover, there shall no stranger eat thereof, but every man servant, not a bondman, a servant, right? A servant that is bought with money when thou is circumcised, because even all Israelites have to keep the law, right? Then he shall eat thereof. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. One that shall be, though in one house shall it be eaten, thou shalt not carry forth out of the flesh a board out of the house, neither shalt thou break the bone thereof. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it, right? And the stranger that sojourn with thee, so we got two different strangers. We got a stranger in 43 and 45, right? But you can't buy and sell Israelites, right? That's slavery, right? So these two strangers can't eat, but the stranger in 48 can. And with the stranger that sojourn with thee, right? We just read what was that? Exodus, Leviticus 25, when it said, if your brother be waxing poor and he basically down bad, you shall help him, even though he be a stranger to you, right? So this is that stranger. In verse 48, and when the stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all the males be circumcised, because all Israelites got to keep the law no matter what. And if a man is not circumcised, according to the law, he can't keep the Passover, right? So you gotta be circumcised to keep the Passover as an Israelite man. And then let him come near and keep it, and it shall be as one born in the land, and for no circumcised person shall eat thereof. So there you go. There goes the law. No circumcised person shall eat thereof. But even though that person ain't from the land, or they just coming here, right? We got to treat them like they've been here the whole time. It's like if an Israelite come in to the truth right now, we can't treat them like, oh, you a heathen. No, we got to treat them like they've been here with us the whole time. And that's kind of the spirit behind it, right? And let's see here. And I'm going to wrap it up with this. Leviticus 19 and 17. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17. And this is Leviticus 19 and 17. It says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart, and thou shalt not rebuke thy neighbor, nor suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Right? So that's that. I just wanted to get the spirit behind it. That stranger is your brother. That stranger is not a heathen. Now there are heathen strangers. I got one more verse that shows you what we can do to a heathen stranger, what you can't do to an Israelite. One second. One second. It looks like we're going to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 21. Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 21. Okay. And it's a law also. It says, ye shall not eat anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat of it, or thou mayest sell it to an alien. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seeth a kid in his mother's milk. So basically, Deuteronomy 14 and 21 says, let's just say we found some roadkill, right? We can sell it to a heathen, but you can't sell it to an Israelite. We holy people, we set apart, we are separate, right? So these are just laws. I just wanted to get that out, right? Auntie, did you follow that breakdown?
Yeah.
That's the so that's the understanding I have of a stranger. If you got any questions, you can hit me up. Do you have any questions on a stranger before I get into like the main lesson? I just want to get that out the way though.
A stranger is a stranger that's an Israelite. We treat them like a brother, but a stranger outside of the tribe, they real strangers.
Yeah, they just a heathen, right? But heathens can live in the land, right? We can have heathens in the land or whatever, but we can't treat them like an Israelite, like it's an ethnic hierarchy, right? It's like right. So Israelites on top and everybody else on the bottom, and the Israelites that's on top, you can't treat like you treat the other nations, right? And we got rules that only apply to us that don't apply to heathens. All right, so that's my stranger breakdown. Okay, we got some new people. It's somebody here for the first time. We got to go over some milk. That was a question for anybody a brand new Israelite in the room? I'm gonna take that as a no. Because the reason why I'm asking is, the whole reason I'm asking is I just want to, if you new to being an Israelite, there's a couple scriptures I just want to point out to you. But if not, we can just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, this is my first time here. I was invited, so this is my first time here. But no, I'm not new to being an Israelite. But...
Oh, okay. All praises. All praises.
All praises. Shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. All right, so next what we going to? Let's see here. Actually, just being honest, I want to go to. I just want to read this. I want to go to Second Ezra chapter 13. And let's read this chapter. Since we are Israelites, we know what's going on. Second Ezra chapter 13.
This apocrypha?
No, not Ezra, Ezra's. Same person, but different spelling of the name. Second Ezra chapter 13. We're gonna start at 1. All right. And as we go in, this this chapter real, right? So the second Ezra chapter 13, I'm gonna start at 1. And it came to pass that after 7 days, now Ezra was getting dreams, and the Most High told him to fast for 7 days, and he would give him an interpretation of a dream. So this is one of the dreams he was having. So verse 1. And it came to pass that after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there was arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the ways thereof. And I beheld, and lo, a man waxed strong with the thousands of heavens. That's Yahweh. That's who people call Christ, right? And when he turned his countenance, to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. And whosoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burnt. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burnt that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it filleth the fire, right? So when grass and trees feel that fire, they wilt, right? And the same thing happened when everybody heard the word of the Messiah, right? Verse 5. And after this I behold, and lo, there was a gathering together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea, right? So you got these quote unquote armies of militaries, right? That's gonna try to battle against Christ, right? Verse 6. And lo, and behold, I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up on it. But I would have seen the region or place where out the hill was graven. I could not. So he was trying to recognize where this was happening at, but he couldn't. And after this, behold, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid, and yet durst fight. So these people was scared of him, but they still ready to fight him, right? So these are the armies of the world ready to fight against our Messiah, right? And they scared, but they still finna fight. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted his hand, nor his sword, nor instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he casted out the sparks of the tempest. Can you scroll up, Auntie? And they were all mixed together. The blast of fire, the flame and breath, the great tempest fell with violence upon the multitude which were prepared to fight, and burnt them up every one, so that upon a sudden of the innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and the smell of smoke. And I saw this, and I was afraid. Afterward, I saw the same man come down the mountain, and call unto him another peaceable multitude. And they came, this us, y'all. And there came much people unto him, wherefore some were glad, some were sorry, some of them were bound, and the others and others some brought of them that were offered. When I was sick, through the great fear I awakened and said, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I can't break down that verse completely. It sounded like an elder who I was talking to before. If you could break down that verse, elder, you're welcome to. Right? I'm gonna continue though. Thou hast shewed thy servants these wonders from the beginning, and hast counted me worthy that thou shouldest receive my prayer. So he woke up, right? And he thanked the Most High for giving him a vision, but he's scared, right? Verse 15, shew me now yet the interpretation of this dream. So he asked him for what does this dream mean? For I conceive unto my understanding, woe unto them that shall be left in those days, and much more woe to them that are not left behind, right? For they that were not left were in heaviness. Now understand I the things that are laid up in the latter days, in which shall happen unto them, to those that are left behind. Scroll up, Auntie. Yeah, I'm reading off the screen. Let's see here. Therefore are they come in great perilous and many necessities, like as the dream declared. Pearls. I can't pronounce that word. I apologize, y'all. Great and many necessities, like the dream declared. Yet it is easier for him that is in danger to come into these things than to pass away as a cloud out of the world and not see the things that happened in these last days. And he answered unto me and said, the interpretation of this vision shall I show thee, and I will open unto thee the things that thou hast required, whereas thou hast spoken of them and that they are left behind. This is the interpretation. He that shall endure the pearls in that time, I can't pronounce the word. It basically means like turmoil, right? That's what the word means. He that shall endure pearls in that time have kept himself. They that be fallen into danger are such as have works and faith towards the Almighty. Know this therefore, that they that which be left are the more blessed than they that are dead, right? So these people still went through this, but those that are left are the blessed ones, right? Because like it said in verse 23, it says they that be fallen in danger are such as have works and faith. We know faith without works is dead, right? According to the book of James, chapter 2. So these are people that kept the law, statutes, commandments, the faith in Christ, right? And in verse 24, it says, know therefore that they which be left behind are more blessed than they that are dead. Even though they went through this, they blessed. Verse 25, this is the meaning of the vision. Whereas thou sawest a man coming up in the midst of the sea, the same as whom God the highest have kept a great season, which by his own self shall deliver his creature, and he shall order them that are left behind. Whereas thou sawest that out of the mouth came a blast of wind, fire, and storm, and that he held neither sword nor any instrument of war, but that the rushing of him destroyed the whole multitude that came to subdue him. This is the interpretation. So Yahushua ain't gonna need no gun. He ain't gonna need no sword. He ain't gonna need none of that. His power is within himself to destroy and to do whatever he needs to do when on his second coming, right? Behold, the days, can you scroll up, Auntie? Behold, the day has come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth. And he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. And one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, one realm against another. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, the signs shall happen when I shew thee before. All right. And then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascending. Now keep in mind, y'all, this is the Apocrypha. This before Yahushua even existed. So this is a cut to Old Testament onlys that don't believe in the Messiah. He's all throughout the Old Testament, and here goes another place, right? And the time shall come when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall happen, which I shew thee before. Then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as the man ascending, right? So that's Yahushua. And when all these people hear the voice, every man shall in his own land leave the battle they have one against another. So now you got nation against nation, people against people, right? Fighting against each other, right? World wars, right? It says, and the time shall come when these things shall come to pass. No, my bad. What verse am I at? Right
34.
Here. 34, yeah. And then innumerable multitude which shall be gathered together as thou sawest them, willing to come and to overcome him by fighting, right? So these are all the other people that's fighting against each other. They're going to stop. They're going to turn their weapons from off each other and then turn them towards the Yahushua, right? But he shall stand up on the top of Mount Zion, right? That's us. And Zion shall come, and shall be shewed all the and shall be shewed to all men, being prepared and builded like unto that, like as thou sawest a hill graven without hands, and them hills and the mountains are people, right? And this my son shall rebuke the wicked inventions of those nations. They drones and all that other stuff, right? Which the wicked, which for their wicked life are fallen into the tempest. They shall lay before them the evil thoughts and the torments thereof, and they shall begin to be tormented, which are like unto the flames, and he shall destroy them without labor by the law, which is like unto me. Whereas thou sawest that the gathering of another multitude, peaceful multitude unto him. So it was two multitudes. It was a multitude of wicked people, then there was a multitude of heathens. Actually, I wasn't finna get into this. That's where my breakdown started, but we can get into this, right? So let's keep going. So those are the 10 tribes, which are now the context change, right? So verse 1 through 39 is a future prophecy, obviously, right? At verse 40, the context change. This is actually talking about 700 BC, the Assyrian captivity when the northern kingdom came over here. So this one, the context just changed. Verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of the land in the time of OC, the king whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captives. And you can look up Salmanassar, the king of Assyria. It was around, I said 700 BCE, circa, but it's, if I wanted to be more direct, it was around like 640, right? 640. So, no. So, yeah, no. Yeah, 640. That's not important now. Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, so they came into another land. But they took the counsel among themselves, the 10 tribes, that they would not leave, that they would leave the multitude of the heathens, because they are over in Assyrian captivity. So basically, this is what modern day we'll call the Middle East, right? So they're over there. We're in a Babylonian slavery. Well, we finna go into the Babylonian slavery of Southern Kingdom. The Northern Kingdom is in a Assyrian slavery. So Israel done broke up into two different nations. You got the Southern Kingdom and the Northern Kingdom. The Northern Kingdom said, okay, we finna go to another land. Verse 42, that they may keep the statutes which they never kept in the land. And they entered into the Euphrates by a narrow place of the river. For the Most High shewed signs and held still the floods that they were passed over. So the Most High held the water still. For though the country were a great way to go, namely a year and a half. So it took the Northern Kingdom a year and a half to get where they was going. And the same region is called Ashereth. Now we already know that this region is the land where let me go back up to 41. But they took counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathens and go forth to a further country where never mankind dwelt. So in the verse 44, I don't know what answer it is. The answer is 45. The place is called Ashereth. That's a place where no mankind dwelt, but it's going to give us more clues to where this place is at. Okay, verse 46. Then dwelt they into the latter times, right? And now when they shall begin to come. Now, where they are dwelling at is they're going to be there when Yahweh shall come back into the latter times, right? I want to stop there. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50. Actually, don't go to Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 18. And this is why this is important. Because both the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom was going to be in the same place, right? In our last captivity, we was going to be in the same place. So wherever the Northern Kingdom at in the latter days, in Ashereth, land of the North, whatever you want to call it, what the Bible call it, Babylon, both kingdoms are going to be there. So this Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 18. In those days, the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel. This both kingdoms, the house of Judah and the house of Israel, walking together. Now, keep in mind, we were never in slavery together except our first one, which was in Egypt. So we done had 7 slaveries in this Bible, but the only one we was together in is the first one and the last one. So in those days, future prophecy, the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north. So both kingdoms are here, and they're coming out of this place. And they're coming out of this place to where the Most High gonna take us, which is the kingdom of heaven, our land. So one more, I'm gonna read it all the way through. In those days shall the house of Judah walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north, that out of the land of the north to the land that I have given for an inheritance unto their fathers. Right. So we coming out of this land, both kingdoms, into our rightful land. I need one more scripture. Go to Jeremiah, I want to say 15 and 16.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah 15 and 16. That's not it. Go to Jeremiah 14 and 15. I'm gonna have to look this up. That it? Yeah, let me look at this. Slovakia. Okay, Jeremiah 16 and 14. Jeremiah 16 and 14. And it says, therefore, behold, the day has come, saith the Lord, that there shall be no more said, the Lord that liveth brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt. So it's going to come a day where we no longer going to be talking about the Exodus and how the Most High freed us from Egypt. Verse 15, but the Lord liveth, which brought the children of Israel from the land of the north, both kingdoms, and from all the lands which he had driven them. Because keep in mind, even though we're predominantly in Babylon, we still scattered everywhere, right? So you can't be simple. Both things are true and can be true. We're in Babylon. The whole book of Revelation is talking about the Most High saving us from Babylon, right? But we still got Israelites scattered all over this world, and the whole world is not Babylon, right? So we got Israelites that's in the land of the north. And then let me prove land of the north is Babylon. Go to 1 second. Zephaniah or Zechariah? 1 second. Okay, Zechariah chapter 2, verse 6. Proving that the land of the north, both kingdoms are getting saved from the land of the north and from all the other places we scattered, right? Let's find out if the land of the north is Babylon. This is Zechariah chapter 2, verse 6, I'm sorry. Ho, 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 come forth and flee from the land of the north, saith the Lord. For I have spread you abroad as the four winds of heaven, saith the Lord. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest in the daughter of Babylon. So it's called the land of the north in verse 6, and it's called Babylon in verse 7, right? So that's proof that Babylon is the land of the north, which is the place that we're gonna get saved from. And we're gonna when we get saved from Babylon, we're gonna stop talking about how we got saved from Egypt, and we're gonna start talking about this second Exodus, right? Now let's go back to the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13. I believe we was like around verse 50. Actually scroll up, it's like 40. Yeah, I'm finna start at 45 again. Actually, I'm finna start at 44. And the Most High showed them and the Most High shewed signs for them and held still the flood that they passed over. For through that country where they were it was a great way to go, namely a year and a half in that same region is called Osiris. Now here's the key point. Then dwelled they there until the latter times, and now when they shall begin to come, and the highest shall state the springs of the streams again, that they may go through. Therefore sawest thou the multitude with peace. But those that be left behind of the borders, or they that are found within my borders, I think that's what it basically it stopped. Wherever these northern kingdom went, they stayed up to the latter days, right? And then the northern kingdom, the southern kingdom, end up joining them in that same land. So that's how the prophecy go. That's how we know that Puerto Ricans, and even if you go to Brazil, like 95% of Brazil is Black people, right? Half of the slave ships that came, and then can't be ignorant. It was brown people over here before them slave ships came off. All them Native Americans or us, right? So, and they wore fringes. They actually, the Northern Kingdom, their feast days lined up with the Bible feast days. They had a corn feast day. Make a long story short, but they still went off into idolatry, just like the Southern Kingdom did. They went off just like we went off, right? And that's why we're in this predicament now, right? But that's my breakdown of it. If anybody got a question about it, I'll be happy to answer the best as I can, all right? Now I would like to go. Why do I have this first? I got a couple parables that I want to go over. If anybody got a question, now's a good time to ask.
Shalom, can I be heard?
Hi.
I was just sending some messages. I don't know if you all were getting them because I didn't want to disturb your teaching and your speaking because I was just listening. But I text my sister Renee to ask where you getting my comments because I don't know, my phone been acting up, so I don't know if you've seen them or not. This is Sister Robbie.
Sister Robbie, I'm in the back chat right now. I'm finna read it. Okay, so you want me to do a brief recap, sis?
Yes, because I was somewhere else, and I thought I had
that's fine.
And it was in a clubhouse, and I was wrong. That's why I was asking her, where is she? Because I didn't see her. And she was telling me to come, sent me a link. I don't know. I have so many links on my phone. I was actually in a replay of the clubhouse, which I can still go back and listen to, but I wanted to be with what's current because I've lost a lot of what you were saying.
Oh, no, it's fine. I ain't got no problem going back over.
Somewhere else.
No, it's fine. I'm finna go. So bam. So we started off on a stranger, right? So you know how in Israel we got people that got the understanding that there's a heathen stranger and then there's an Israelite stranger, right? And I was basically breaking down the stranger. So I'm gonna give you a brief recap of where we went. Okay, we started off. Let's go to let's prove that there's Israelite strangers first. So we went to Leviticus chapter 25, verse 35. Can you go down to?
I didn't get that. 5:35.
25:35.
You said Leviticus chapter 5, verse 25?
No, Leviticus chapter 25, verse 35.
Oh, 25, verse 35. Okay.
Yeah, can you see the screen?
I see it.
Okay. So Leviticus 25 and 35. And these two verses, actually I'm gonna read 35, 36, and 37. This verse is just to prove that there are there are Israelite strangers. And if thy brother be waxing poor, so this is Israelite, if thy brother be waxing poor and falling into decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him, yea, though he be a stranger or sojourner, that they may live with thee. So now we got an Israelite that's a stranger and a sojourner, right? So well, every time we see stranger in the Bible, we cannot equate that to can't equate Gentiles to heathens, because Gentile just means nations. Israelites are called Gentiles in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus. We're called Gentiles through the whole Bible. The word goy just means nation. The word stranger is not exclusive to non-Israelites, right? Because as you can see here, we're called strangers also. Verse 36, thou shalt take no usury of him or increase, but fear thy God, that thy brother may live with thee. Thou shalt not give him money upon usury, nor lend him thy victuals of increase. So we can't put no predatory loan on the Israelite, right? But we can for another type of heathen, right? So let's go to Deuteronomy 23 and 19. Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 19. So here goes another stranger. So the Israelite stranger can't lend upon usury. This is Leviticus chapter 23, verse 19. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Unto the stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may be blessed in all that thou settest thy hand to in thy land, whether thou goest to possess it. So now we see two different strangers just opposed. One stranger has you can lend money to, but you can't charge that interest. But this other stranger, you can put whatever interest you want on them, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy. What was it? 14. Deuteronomy 14. I want to say 21 or 12. Go to just go to 12. There go it. It says verse 21. It says, ye shall not eat anything. So the verse is, I'm gonna call it out again. This is Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 21. It says, ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that they may eat it, or thou mayest sell it to the alien. But thou art a holy means separate, people unto the Lord thy God, and thou shalt not see it the kid of his mother's milk. So we roadkill is basically something that dies of itself. So we can sell roadkill to a heathen, but to an Israelite can't do that, right? So just opposing, because it's an ethnic hierarchy, basically. Israelites are on top, and the people that's under Israelites don't have the same rules and privileges as the Israelites, right? So now let's go to Exodus chapter 12, verse 43. Exodus chapter 12, verse 33, and we're going to read through 49, I believe. Actually, we might as well read the rest of it. So this is Exodus chapter 12, verse 43. And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. Actually, I got to go into another breakdown of a Hebrew servant, right? So let me just read it and then we're going to break it down. Verse 44, but every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then he shall eat thereof. So this servant, not a bondman, because when you look up bondman, it says male servant, and bondmaid, that's woman, female servant. Okay, so let's just get it. Go to Exodus chapter 21, verse 2. So Israelites are not able to be slave men. We can be servants, like like the butler on the Fresh Prince, right? He can go home though, or he can leave. A slave can't leave, right? So this is Exodus 21 and 2. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years shall he serve. On the 7th year shall he go free for nothing. right? So that's a servant. But let's see about 1 second. What was that verse? Let's go to Leviticus. Leviticus chapter 25, verse 44. So of the Hebrew servant, right? And the year of Jubilee is the 7th year, right? Because, you know, 7 means completion, and we got 7 high holy days. You know what I'm saying? So the year of Jubilee is the 7th year, right? We got a 7-day Sabbath, right? That's 7. That 7th year, you got to let the Israelite go, right? So this is Leviticus 25, verse 44. Thy bondman, so it don't say servant here, it says bondman. When you look up that word, it says slave man. And thy bondmaid, slave woman, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathens that are round about you. Of them shall you buy bondmen and bondwomen, slave men and slave women. Moreover, the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall you buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession, that they should be your bondman forever. But over their brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor. Now, this is in the law. We can have the heathens for slaves forever to prove that. Okay. Further along in the Bible, when King David was ruling, the king of Israel, he had slaves. Well, we went into 2 different captivities. So we was in a Persian captivity somewhere around like 200-300 years later. We still had the slaves that we had from King David, right? I just wanted to sidebar. I'm gonna get right back to it. Okay, so of the Israelites, you got to let them go in the 7th year, but of the heathen, right? That we can have them indefinitely. Now let's go back to Exodus chapter 12, verse 43, and break down the one stranger that can eat of the Passover and the other stranger that cannot. Okay, this is Exodus chapter 12, verse 43. And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised them, then he shall eat thereof. So you got a servant here, not a bondman, right? When you circumcise them, because all Israelites got to follow the law. You got to be circumcised to even eat the Passover. Then shall he eat thereof. So this Israelite can eat, but the other Israelite, this stranger can eat, but the other stranger can't. Let's keep going. The foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall he be eaten, and thou shalt not carry forth out of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall thou break the bone thereof. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when the stranger, right, shall sojourn with thee, we read in Leviticus 25 and 35, if thy brother be waxing poor, if he fall into decay, though he be a stranger and a sojourner, that Israelite, right, that came back, right, we got to treat him like he was born in the land, just like that. Like I use for an example, if an Israelite wake up today, we can't treat them like a heathen and say, oh, we got to treat them like they've been here with us the whole time. That's their brotherly love. And we finna get to that at the end of this. So verse 46, verse 47, all the congregation of Israel shall keep it. Verse 48, and when a stranger or sojourner shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover of the Lord. So here goes a stranger that can keep it. We got strangers that can't keep it because they're heathens. Then you got strangers that can keep it. And furthermore, just on a scholastic level, on scholarship, in verse 43, that word for stranger, and in verse 48, the word for stranger are 2 different Hebrew words. They're not the same stranger. So verse 48, when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover of the Lord, let all the males be circumcised, and let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one born in the land. So you got to treat him like he was born here with you. You can't treat him like a stepbrother or nothing. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. And all Israelites got to keep the commandments. And you can't eat the Passover unless you're circumcised, right? So with all that being said, let's go to Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17 and 18. because that stranger, you got to follow this law for that stranger, that Israelite stranger, because let's just say an Israelite don't want to be an Israelite, right? They want to be a Muslim. And they go have some kids. Well, those kids, if they want to be Israelites, we can't tell them that they can't. We got to let them come back in and treat them as one born in the land, right? So this is Leviticus 19, verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart, nor in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, nor suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge of the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. So then this further understanding of what Christ was talking about in the New Testament, right? When he told you when he smack you one cheek, turn the other, take your head, give him a coat. He wasn't talking about us being beat down in civil rights movement and we supposed to accept that. No, he was talking about your brother. When you can forgive white people the second they shoot you, but your brother, you gonna shoot up his house with his kids in it, right? Because you got that hate in your heart because we under these curses. No, you gotta, let me read the verse one more time. Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. So loving your neighbor and do not hate your brother in your heart is talking about the children of your people. It ain't talking about the whole world, right? Your neighbor could be a Chinese man. It's not talking about him. It's talking about me and you, right? So that's what we talked about originally. Now let's go right back. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 13. And that hold on, Robbie. So Robbie, that was the breakdown, right, of the stranger. That's where my breakdown of the stranger ends. Did you understand it?
Hi.
All right, so now we're finna read 2nd Ezra 13. I'm finna read 1 through 39 again, right? And it's kind of self-explanatory. I'm pretty sure you're gonna get it. This future prophecy, right? 2nd Ezra 13 and 1. And it shall come to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose. So Ezra was getting dreams from the Most High, and then the Most High interpreted it after he fasted for 7 days, right? And it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea that moved all the ways thereof. And behold, and lo, a man waxed strong with thousands of heaven. So this Yahushua with the angels, right? And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. And so in a brief synopsis, this is talking about how all the armies of the world are going to try to fight against Yahushua when he make his second coming. So verse 3, and I behold, and lo, a man, well, I just read that, verse 4, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like the earth faileth when it filleth fire. So just like the wildfires make them trees wilt up, when he opened his mouth, everything wilted, right? When he opened his mouth and that fire came out. Verse 5, and after this I behold, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. So now you got all these people, all these armies, all these people, right, finna come to Yahushua to try to make war with him. Behold, I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself the great mountain and flew up on it. But I would have seen the region of the place whereout the hill was graven, but I could not. So Ezra was trying to see where it was at on the earth, if he could recognize it, but he couldn't, right? So verse 8, and after this I behold, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet does fight. So these armies are scared, but they still finna fight them. Verse 9, and lo, and I saw the violence of the multitude that came. He neither lifted his hand, nor sword, nor any instrument of war. So these people coming with violence, these multitude, and he ain't lifting up a finger, right? Verse 10, I only saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips the flaming breath, and out of his tongue the cast out sparks and tempests. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude that was prepared to fight, and burned them up, every one, so that upon a sudden of the innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and the smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Afterward saw I the same man come down from the mountain and call upon him another peaceable multitude, right? So this us. And there came much people unto him. There came much people unto him, wherefore some were glad, some were sorry, some of them were bound, some brought of them that were offered. And I was sick through great fear, and I awakened and said, Thou hast shewed thy servant these wonders from the beginning, and hast counted me worthy that thou shouldest receive my prayer. Shew me now yet the interpretation of this dream. For as I conceived in my understanding, woe to them that be left in those days, which much more woe to them that are not left behind. So that's what he got from it. So this is a future prophet, this talking about our time. For they that are not left were in heaviness. Now understand I the things that are laid up in the latter days, these times, right? The latter days, which shall happen to them and to those that are left behind. Therefore are they come into great perils and many necessities, like the dreams declared. Yet it is easier for him that is in danger to come into these things than to pass away as a cloud out of the world and not see the things that happen in the last days. As he said, as he answered unto me and said, the interpretation of this vision shall I show thee, and I will open to thee and the things I will open to thee the things that thou hast required. Whereas thou hast spoken of them that are left behind, this is the interpretation. You scroll up, Auntie. So this is the interpretation. Most High finna give him the dream. The interpretation of the dream. Verse 23. He that shall endure the pearls in that time have kept himself. They that are fallen into danger are such that have works and faith towards the Almighty, right? So these people that are left behind, they got faith and works. You know, faith without works is dead, according to John chapter 2, right? So these are people that's following the commandments and got the faith of the Messiah, of our Savior, right? Verse 24. Know this therefore, that they which are left behind are more blessed than they are dead. 25. This is the meaning of the vision, whereas thou sawest a man coming up out of the midst of the sea. The same is he whom God the highest have kept in great season, which by his own self shall deliver his creature, that he shall order them that are left behind. And whereas thou sawest out of the mouth came a blast of wind, fire, and storm, they that he held neither, okay, my bad. And that he held neither sword nor any instrument of war, but that the rushing of him, but that the rushing in of him destroyed the whole multitude that came to subdue him. This is the interpretation. So he told him, right, like the people that came to because Yahushua don't need a sword, he don't need a bomb, he don't need an AR-15. The Most High gave him enough strength to do whatever he gonna do, right? Verse boom, boom, boom. 29. Behold, the day is come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are up on the earth. And he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. And one shall undertake to fight against another, right? One city against another, one place against another, one people against another, one realm against another. So it's going down, right? These are the latter days. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass. The sign shall be it's repetitive. That's what gets me. Okay, the sign shall be which I shall shew thee before, and then shall this a cut. Then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascending. Now, if we are Israelites, we already know about Old Testament Israelites, and we know Yahushua is throughout the Old Testament. The Apocrypha is considered the Old Testament, but yet Yahushua is still mentioned in the Apocrypha. Actually, it's mentioned in the Second Ezra chapter 6 or 7, I believe, also, right? So, and then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest ascending. Verse 33, and when all the people hear his voice, every man shall be in their own land, leave the battle they have one against another, right? So they're gonna stop fighting a battle in their own land that they fighting against each other, the Ukraine against Russia and all. They're gonna stop fighting against each other, and they're gonna turn their guns on Yahushua, right? Fighting against one another, and the innumerable multitude shall be gathered together into like the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's Joel chapter 3, right? And the innumerable multitude shall be gathered together as thou sawest them, willing to come to overcome him by fighting. So they even though they scared, they still finna try to fight him. Verse 35, and he shall stand up on the top of Mount Zion, us, and Zion shall come and shall be shewed all the men being prepared and buildeth, like thou sawest the hill graven without hands. The hill graven without hand is us. Hills and mountains are people, according to the Bible, right? Verse 37, and this is my son, and this my son shall rebuke the wicked inventions of those nations, which for the wicked life are fallen into the tempest, and shall lay before them the evils, thoughts, and the torments whereof they shall begin to be tormented, which are like unto the flame, and to destroy them without labor by the law which like unto him, because he doesn't need, you know what I'm saying? Like he don't need a sword, he don't need none of this. Whereas thou sawest the great, where I butchered the end of this. Whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude to him. And these two multitudes are the Israelites. This peaceable multitude are the Israelites that are in Revelation chapter 7, right? The sand of the sea, so to speak, right? That's talked about in Hosea chapter 1. Those Israelites, that's that multitude that which cannot be measured or numbered. And then we went to the 10 tribes, right? So we went to the 10 tribes, and I might as well get that, right? I don't got a problem going over it again. Let's go. Verse 40. So now, verse 1 through 39 is a future prophecy talking about the end time prophecy. At verse 40, it switches, right? Verse 40, the context switches, and it starts talking about the northern kingdom around 700 BC in Assyrian captivity when we split up. The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom split up, right? And let's go. So the context just changed. Verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which are carried away prisoners out of their land in the time of OC, the king, whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, so they came into another land. So this is the northern kingdom, right? In the Assyrian captivity. They finna come over here. Verse 41, and they took counsel amongst themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathens and go forth into a further country where mankind never dwelt. So wherever this place is, mankind never dwelt there. Verse 42, that they might keep their statutes, which they never kept in their land. And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow place of the river. For the Most High then shewed signs for them and held still the flood till they passed over. So the Most High calmed the waters. Verse 45, for through that country there was a great way to go, namely a year and a half, and the same place was called Osiris. So it took a year and a half for them to get there, and the place is called Osiris, right? And I would forward the idea of Osiris being a north country in Babylon, right? And I'm gonna proceed to prove it with the Bible. So Osiris. Then they dwelled there into the latter times, and it's the key point. This northern kingdom went to Osiris, right? And they dwelt there to the latter time. So wherever they went, they're there now. And now when they shall begin to come. So the northern kingdom went to Osiris. Now let's go to Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 18. because what's important to know is both kingdoms have not been in slavery together except in Egypt. So we done had 7 slaveries, but the only slavery we done had together is our first one, which is in Egypt, and our last one, which is in Babylon, right? So boom, this is Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 18. In those days, future prophecy, the house of Judah, southern kingdom, shall walk with the house of Israel, northern kingdom, and they shall come together out of the land of the north, right? So it's all going to come together, but both the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom going to be in their last slavery together, and they're going to come out of that slavery into our land, right? So starting over one more time. In those days, the house of Israel shall walk with the house of Slakia. In those days, the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given for an inheritance to their fathers, right? So both kingdoms are going to come out of the land of the north, or Babylon, to the land that the Most High promised to our forefathers, right? Now let's go to Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 14. Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 14. Because both kingdoms are going to be in the land of the north, right? And be delivered from the land of the north. Now let's see what this verse say. Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 14. Therefore, behold, the day is come, saith the Lord, that it shall be said, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, which brought the children of Israel out of Egypt. So a day gonna come when we ain't gonna no longer be talking about how we got brought out of Egypt, the first Exodus, verse 15. But the Lord liveth, that brought the children of Israel from the land of the north, right? Both kingdoms are in the land of the north. So we're going to start talking about this second Exodus of us being delivered from the land of the north when he do this. And from all the lands with he had driven them. Because even though we're predominantly in Babylon, the northern and southern kingdom, the land of the north, we're still scattered to the 4 corners of the earth. So that's why he's going to deliver us from the land of the north and all the places where we scattered. One more time, 14 and 15. Therefore, behold, the day has come, saith the Lord, where it shall be said, where it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord liveth, which brought the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he have driven them. And I will bring them again to the land that I give into their fathers, right? Both future prophecies say the exact same thing, right? Now, all I need to do is prove that the land of the north is Babylon, and that will wrap up that. So now let's go to Zechariah chapter 2, verse 6. Zechariah chapter 2, verse 6. And it reads, Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, saith the Lord. I have spread you abroad as the 4 winds of heaven, saith the Lord. Verse 7. So it's called the land of the north in verse 6, but in verse 7 it's called Babylon, and not ancient Babylon, the daughter of Babylon, or mystery Babylon, which proves it's this place, right? So this ain't ancient Babylon, it's the daughter of Babylon. 6 and 7, one more time. Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, saith the Lord, for I have spread you abroad as the 4 winds of heaven, saith Yahweh. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the, deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. So in verse 6, it's the land of the north. In verse 7, it's the daughter of Babylon. And that's where we're going to be in our last slavery. That's why he's telling us to come up out of her, my people. It don't mean to physically go to Ghana, right? Because Israelites ain't able to do that, right? It's just not financially possible, right? We're under these curses. But it tells you to come up out or separate you. Actually, go to Revelation 18. I got a perfect verse to explain it. Come up out of her, my people. Revelation 18. Just start at 1. I'm going to try to find the verse. Well, actually, we got to highlight it. This Revelation 18 and 4. And I heard a great voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues, for her sins have reached the heavens, and God have remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to the works in the cup which she have filled with her, filled to her double. And that cup is the cup is filled up with wrath, right? But coming up out of her is like we ain't I don't know, 4th of July, we separating ourselves, right? Holy, right? So that's the understanding I have. And then Robin, and that's when I think you came in, right? When we was gonna go to the next thing. So I think I caught you up to speed.
Con, I'm caught up. Thank you.
You're welcome. All praises. So I got a couple verses in Matthew written down. Let's just go over them because I don't even know how I wrote them down, but they here, so we finna do them. Matthew 18 and 15. Do anybody got a topic they want to go over in particular? If so, just chime in. I got Matthew 15 to 17. Let's read this. 15 through 17. Matthew 18, 15 through 17. And it reads, moreover, if thy brother, oh, this goes with the stranger. That's why I had this, right? Because the Bible also, so check this out. So moreover, if thy brother trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. And if he shall hear thee, thou hast gained a brother. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, right? Because in a mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses must a matter be established. But if he will not hear thee, then take thee one or two more, that in a mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word might be established. I thought I was doing something. It literally just said it. Verse 17. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church, right? To the elders. But if you neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a Republican. So it said if you came to him and he didn't want to hear you, he didn't want to hear the church, they said treat him like a heathen. Right? But that goes to the stranger breakdown. That's why that was there. But let's keep going. Matthew 13, we're gonna start at verse 1.
Matthew 13.
Matthew 13, starting at 1, starting from the top. And it's a parable. Matthew 13 and 1, and it reads, in the same day Yahushua went out of the house and sat at the seaside, and a great multitude were gathered together unto him, so that he went to the ship and sat, and the whole multitude stood at the shore. And he spake many things to them in parables, saying, behold, a sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them, right? Some seeds fell by the wayside, and the birds ate them. Verse 5, some fell upon stony places, where they had not been much earth, they had not been much earth. Forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched. And because they had no root, they were withered away. So you got some things that look like they, when this truth come out, you're like, oh, they got it, right? As soon as a tribulation come out, they fall right back into, you know what I'm saying? The where they came from, right? Dog returning to their vomit. Verse 6. And when verse 7. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them, right? But others fell on good ground and brought forth fruit. Some had 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. And have ears, some 30-fold, and have ears to hear, let them hear. Who has ears to hear, let them hear. The disciples came and said unto him, while thou speakest to them in parables. Now the disciples want to know, why are you speaking to everybody in parables, right? And he said, and he answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. And we already know this truth ain't for everybody. We didn't choose him, he chose us, right? Verse 12. For whosoever hath to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall it be taken away, even if he hath, right? So you know them by their fruits, right? You remember the parable about the talents and the dude that dug up the other two dudes, they used their talent and they went out and they became fruitful, right? Whatever the talent the Most High gave them, they went to go, they get, because it's a parable, because so it's the talents are talking about people, right? Well, actual talent for you to go fishing and gain people. But if you take that talent and you bury it, when the Most High come back, He gonna take it from you and give it to somebody. So that's what that verse means. What verse was that? Verse 12.
Well,
yeah. For whosoever hath, to him it shall be given, and he shall have more in abundance. But whosoever have not, for him shall be taken away, even that he hath, right? So if you don't use your talent, Most High gonna take it away. Verse 13. Therefore speak I unto them in parables, because they see it not. They seeing, see not, and hearing, hear not, neither do they understand. So they got eyes to see, but they can't see, and they got ears on the side of their head, but they can't hear, right? Verse 14. And in them is the fulfillment of the prophecy of Elias, right? Isaiah, which saith, by hearing ye shall hear, and hold on, but by hearing you shall hear and shall not understand, and see by seeing you shall see and shall not perceive. Blah blah blah. All right, so yeah, I apologize for that. So one more time, and in them it is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, by hearing you shall hear and shall not understand, and seeing you shall see and not perceive. For the people's hearts are waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing. Their eyes they have closed, lest at any time that shall see with their eyes and hear with their ears and shall understand with their hearts. See, understanding with your heart, that's another proof that the heart is the mind, and shall understand it with their hearts and shall be converted, and I should heal them, right? Because if they start hearing and they start seeing, the power of Yahushua gonna wake them up. But it's not their choice, right? It's the Most High choice. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and blessed are your ears, for they hear. So we blessed because we can hear and we can see, and that's a gift from the Most High, right? For verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see the things which we see. He's telling you, like all these prophets wish they could have seen Yahushua, right? But they couldn't. And y'all seeing them, right? And have not seen them, and to hear those things which you hear and have not heard them. They would go, some of those prophets would have everything cool.
Fine.
Verse was at okay, verse 17. Okay. And for I say unto you that, for verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see the things which ye see and have not seen them, and to hear the things which ye hear and have not heard them. Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. And when anyone hears the words of the kingdom and understand it not, then cometh the wicked. Hold on. Can you scroll up a little bit? On to verse 23, I believe. Okay. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understand it not, then comes the wicked one and casteth away which was sown in his heart. This is he which received the seed by the wayside. Now, a lot of Israelites, we use this verse because we'll be teaching, and then you have an Edomite come up. He trying to take the word away. We pull this verse, right? Verse 20. But he that have received the seed unto the stony place, the same as he that heareth the word, and anon with joy and received it. Yet, hey, he have not the root in himself, but dureth for a while. For the tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, and by he is offended. Because the Bible says, say when you come to this truth, ready thyself for temptation, right? You gotta be ready because it's gonna go down. Most you're gonna see because you gotta be refined as gold, try the silver and refined as gold, right? So verse 21 again. Yet hath he not rooted himself, but dureth for a while. For a tribulation and persecution arises because of the word, and by is an offended. He also that receiveth the seed among the thorns, he is he that heareth the word, and the care of the world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word and becometh unfruitful. So he that also receiveth seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the cares of the world and the deceitful riches. So he basically, he heard the word, but the world means more to him, right? But he that received the seed on the good ground is he that heareth the word and understand it, which also beareth fruit, bringeth forth some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30, right? Actually, have we read this? I think we read the wheat and the tares last week, right? Yeah, we read the reading the tares last week. That's the next parable and more parables. But my parable that I wanted to get through was the on good ground, the 1 through 23, right? Now let's go to Matthew chapter 18, verse 23. And these are most of the parables about the kingdom of heaven, but that parable in particular was about us waking up, right? Now this parable, Matthew 18 and 23, it reads, therefore the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a certain king, which would take an account of his servants, right? So here goes another parable. Last parable is about us waking up. This parable is likening to the kingdom of heaven. One more time. Therefore the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had to begin to reckon, one was brought unto him, which owed him 10,000 talents, right? 25, for as much as he had not to pay, the Lord commanded him to be sold. His Lord commanded him to be sold. The word Lord means master, simply, right? His Lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife and his children and all that he had, and payment to be made. The servant therefore fell down and worshiped him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all, right? So you got this dude, he owed his master a bunch of money. His master was going to sell his whole family. He said, have mercy on me, I'll pay you all your money. Verse 27, the Lord of the servant was moved with compassion and loosened him and forgave him his debt. So now he got forgave. Verse 28, but the same servant went out and found one of his fellow servants, which owed him 100 pences. So 100 talents is worth more than 100 pences. 100 pences could be, I don't know, it's just lower amount. But the same servant went out and found one of his fellow servants, which owed him 100 pences. And he laid hands on him and took him by the throat, saying, pay me what thou owest. And his fellow servant fell down at his feet and besought him, saying, have patience with me, I will pay thee all. And he would not, but went and cast him to the prison till he paid the debt. So he ain't had no compassion on the dude. He sent him into the prison until he paid his debt, right? Verse 31. And when his fellow servants saw what was done, when his fellow servants saw what was done, they were very sorry and came and told their Lord all that was done. And when his Lord, after he had called him, said unto him, O thou wicked servant, I forgave thee all thy debt because thou desirest me. Shouldest not thou also have compassion on thy fellow servant, even as I have pity on thee? And his Lord was wroth and delivered him to the tormentors till he should pay all that was due unto him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do as unto you, if ye from your hearts forgive not every one of his brothers their trespass. Right. So the last verse 35 brought it to culmination. The parable was about us forgiving our brothers and sisters. So if the Most High can forgive us, for all our transgressions, what do we look like not forgiving our fellow brother and sister for their transgressions against us? Because ain't that in the Lord's Prayer?
Hallelujah.
Forgive my trespasses, as forgive my. I just butchered that. Can we go to Matthew 6? I just butchered that. Let me just get the exact parable. Matthew 6. Let's start. I want to scroll down. It says, can you scroll? No, there you go. It says right there, 14. Yeah. But so verse 14, it says, for if you forgive men their trespasses, Heavenly Father will also forgive you. That's actually is verse 12. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. That's the verse I was looking for, right? So that's in the Lord's Prayer. So the whole point of the parable is we forgiving our brothers and sisters. Love your brother as yourself, right? And that's the understanding that I have. If anybody got a question, they can chime in at any time. Let's go to Matthew chapter 12, verse 24. Matthew 12 and 24, it says, just the right one? Yes, it is. Can you scroll up a tiny bit?
24?
Yeah. Scroll up like 20. Just see if it's
20.
Yeah, I just started in 24. When the Pharisees heard this, they said, this fellow doeth not cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, the prince of his. I gotta go up. Because the Sadducees and the Pharisees, they trying to trip him up or whatever, and they called him a devil, right? Can you just scroll up a tiny bit more?
Okay.
Right there. Slacky, y'all. Okay, let's start at 22. It says, then there was brought unto him one possessed with the devil, blind and dumb, and he healed him, inasmuch that the blind and the dumb both spake and saw. And all the people were amazed and said, is not this the son of David? But when the Pharisees heard it, they said, this fellow doeth not cast out devils, but by Beelzebub the prince of the devils. So he's saying he ain't casting out devils, he is a devil, right? So, and he's using the power of Beelzebub, the devil. He's not using the power of God. That's what they just accused Yahushua, the Messiah, of. Verse 25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought into desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall his kingdom stand? And if I by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore shall ye be the judge. He said, if I'm casting out, using Beelzebub to cast out devils, who your kids? Because your kids doing the same thing. We using the Most High. You calling it the devil, right? But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of God, then the kingdom of God is to come unto you. Or else, how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his good, except he first blind the strong man? Then he will spoil the house, because you got to take out the man first, right? He that is not with me is against me, and he that gathereth not with me scattered abroad. Therefore I say unto you, all manner of sin and blasphemy shall be forgiven of men, but the blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost, shall not be forgiven unto you. And whosoever shall, I don't even know what, I just had this written down. I ain't gonna be like, I don't even know what I wrote.
It's all right. I understand exactly what you're trying to say. So don't worry. Don't pasteurize yourself.
Okay.
It's okay.
Shabbat shalom to everybody, though.
Shabbat shalom.
Don't pasteurize your own self. I understand.
Let's see here. And that's why my notes for the Sabbath ended, but I ain't ready to end, right? So let's see here. Let's go over a few things, right? So let's go to let's go to James chapter 2. I want to touch on this. I think it's very important. James chapter 2, and I want to start at let's start at 1. Go back to James 1:1, and then we're gonna start at 2. I just want to read James 1:1. Go back 1 chapter. James 1:1. James, a servant of Yahweh and Yahushua, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. So this book is only written to Israelites. Well, all the New Testament books are only written to Israelites. You just have to go a little bit deeper to prove it. This one says it plainly, right? Now let's go to James chapter 2. I'm going to start at so let's start at let's start from the top. It says, "My brethren, Israelites, have not the faith of Yahushua, the Lord of glory, with respect to persons. If there come unto you an assembly of men with a gold ring and goodly apparel, there come in also a poor man in vain raiment and vile raiment." So you got a rich man, poor man. "And you have respect to him that wears the gay clothes, and say unto him," because you know that people have respect unto people with money, and then they'll look down and talk down upon, but we're not supposed to have respect for persons among Israelites, right? So say unto him, "Sit thou here in a good place," and say to the poor man, "Stand thou there, or sit here under my footstool." That's wicked judgment, right? Verse 4. "Are ye not impartial in yourselves, and have become judges of evil thoughts? Hearken, my beloved brethren, have not God chosen the poor of this world and rich in faith," us, right, "and heirs of the kingdom which he hath promised to them that love him? But ye have despised the poor. Do not rich men oppress you and draw you before the judgment seats? Do not they blaspheme the worthy name by which ye are called?" So the rich people, they blaspheme your name, right? But you showing respect unto them, right? Verse, if ye fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself," you do well. Because if you would have kept that law, you wouldn't have told that poor man to sit under your footstool, right? "Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself," you do well. But if you have respect to persons, ye commit sin and are convinced of the law of transgressors, right? "For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend one point is guilty of it all." That's not literal, right? It doesn't mean if you steal a piece of candy, you committed adultery, right? That's not saying it, but it's saying like if you sin, you're a sinner, right? And you can't. There's no way you can sin or a willful sin and not be a sinner. You got to repent for that stuff. You know what I'm saying? For he said, for he said that, "Do not commit adultery," and all said also, "Do not kill." For if thou commit no adultery, yet if thou kill, art thou become a transgressor of the law. So speak ye and do, and so do, that they as they that shall be judged by the law of liberty. Basically, it's saying you can't put one law above the other and do one, right? And don't think you can do the other because it's the same thing, right? For he shall be a judgment, for he shall have judgment without mercy, and have showed no mercy. And mercy rejoiced against judgment. So he said one more time that verse. Hold on. That was 13. Mm-hmm. For he shall have judgment without mercy. So if you don't got mercy in your judgment, the Most High ain't gonna have mercy in his judgment on you, right? For he shall have judgment without mercy, that have shewed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. What doeth it profiteth, my brethren, that a man say he have faith and have not works? Can faith save him? So, you got people that say they saved already and they got the faith, right? You don't need to do the law, right? The law done away with, right? If a brother or a sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warm and filled, notwithstanding ye give them not those things which they need to the body, what doeth it profit, right? So if somebody come to you and they need a meal, right? Or they need a coat or a jacket, right? And you say, oh, God bless you. You know what I'm saying? God gonna make a way for you. But you can help them and you don't, right? How did that help them, right? Even so, verse 17, even so, faith, if it have not works, is dead, being alone. Yea, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. That's how you show your faith, by your works. Thou believest that there is one God. Thou doest well. The devils also believe and tremble. But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? Now it's going to give you an example. Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he had offered Isaac his son up to the altar? So now when Abraham was going to offer his son Isaac to the Most High, because the Most High asked him to do it, even though he gave him a goat to sacrifice at the top of the mountain, he wanted to test to see if Abraham's faith was there. And Abraham was going to do it because he understood the Most High gave him Isaac. He can deliver Isaac, or he can give him another Isaac, right? So boom. What verse? Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he had offered Isaac his son up to the altar, seeing thou how faith wrought with his works, and by works was his faith made perfect. And the scripture was fulfilled, which saith, Abraham believed in God, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness, for he was called the friend of Yahweh, friend of God. Ye see that how by the works of a man is justified, and not only by faith, right? Likewise, also, was not Rahab the harlot justified by works when she had received the messengers and had sent them out another way, right? Rahab the harlot, y'all remember, she was the heathens, right? She was a heathen, but she hid some Israelites from her people, right? So you had her people trying to kill some Israelites. They ran to her house. She hid them. They knocking on her door. She said, oh, they went somewhere else. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that whole town was killed except for her. She was the only one saved, right? Mm-hmm. So, verse 25, likewise was not Rahab the harlot justified by works when she had received the messengers and had sent them out the other way. For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is also dead, right? Now I need a precept to this. Let's go to Romans chapter 2. I'm just freestyling. So faith without works is dead. Now, a lot of people, actually, let's go to Galatians. Let's go to Galatians real quick and let me show you something. Galatians, one second.
Galatians is New Testament.
Yeah, Galatians in the New Testament. Galatians. Okay, because a lot of people don't know is Romans was like one of the last books Paul wrote, and Galatians was actually the very first book he wrote. And he wrote Romans. The book of Romans was written like 10 years after the book of Galatians was written. And Paul says something. I just want to show y'all something, but I got to find it first. Give me a second, y'all. Let me do a Google search. Okay, go to Galatians chapter 5, verse 2. Galatians chapter 5, verse 2. Okay. Galatians 5 and 2. It says, Galatians 5 and 2, behold, I Paul say unto you that if you be circumcised, Christ shall profit you nothing. For I testify again to every man that is circumcised that he is a debtor to the whole law. Christ has become of no effect to you. Whosoever of you are justified by the law are falling from grace, right? So this is one of the first books Paul wrote. Now this is a Paul written letter, right? Let me show y'all some. Go to Romans chapter 2. Keep in mind, he wrote this. He wrote Romans 10 years later. Let's see what he say 10 years later. Romans chapter 2. We're finna start at, I think it's at the top. So just start at 1 and let me look. Can you go down like the 12, 13? Let me see what that say. Okay, can you scroll down to verse 25? I really was gonna read verse 13, but 25 says it. Now, keep in mind, he just said in Galatians that circumcision profits you nothing, right? It's 10 years later. Romans 2 and 25. For circumcision verily profited if thou keep the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcised. So he just said, if you keep the law, your circumcision profit. But if you break the law, right? It don't matter if you circumcised, which is true, right? It don't matter if it don't matter if I'm circumcised if I'm breaking all the laws, right? Verse 26. Therefore, if thou and the rest of this passage finna prove that because people use the last verse in this chapter to say spiritual Israel. So go to the last verse in this chapter. Let me show y'all something. If he be a Jew, go back to 3. If it says this, see, they don't. Yeah, I'm gonna read verse 29. No, 2 and 29.
It won't scroll up no more.
Right. So if you're when I debate against Christians a lot. So they say, "Oh, spiritual Israelite," and I say, show me spiritual Israelite in the Bible, and it's not in the Bible, right? It's not in the Bible. There's not one person that was another race of people, and then when they start believing, they became an Israelite. That's not in the Bible. Actually, in Matthew 15, a woman believed, and she was still called a dog, right? But this Romans chapter 2, they will use this verse and say spiritual Israel, Romans 2 and 29. But he that is a Jew, which is one inwardly, but he that is, let me read 28. For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision, which is an outward in the flesh. But he is a Jew, which was one inwardly, and circumcision is of that heart, in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of man, but of God, right? So they will read these two verses and say, see, spiritual Israelite, right? Wrong. Let's get the context. We're going to start back at 20. Let's just start at 25. It says, for circumcision verily profiteth, but if thou keep the law, It says circumcision verily profited if thou keep the law, but if that be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcised. So if you don't keep the law, it doesn't matter if you're circumcised. Verse 26, therefore, if the uncircumcised keep the righteousness of the law, so the uncircumcised, this is a person that's not circumcised, right? If they keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted as circumcision? How can you not be, let's just take me, for example. How can I not be circumcised, but if I keep the law, I'm considered circumcised? It's not talking about a fleshly circumcision. It's saying if you keep the law, it can circumcise your heart. But that's in the Torah. Actually, let me find it real quick. Actually, just go to Deuteronomy chapter 30. It says it cleanly right there, the circumcision of the heart. Deuteronomy 30, just like verse 4, somewhere around there. It says, right, verse 6. And it says, for the Lord thy God will circumcise thy heart and the heart of thy seed. So this circumcision of heart is not a New Testament concept. This is Deuteronomy chapter 30. This is in the Torah, right? Deuteronomy 30 and 6. And the Lord thy God will circumcise thy heart and the heart of thy seed, to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with that thou mayest live. Actually, let me get one more, because this is circumcision of heart and it's a circumcision of earth. So, give me 1 second. Okay, let me just give me a second. Oh yeah, give me a second. I'm gonna find this verse. They got me messed up. Okay, I'm gonna have to rain check that. Man, I know. Let me give me 1 second. I know this verse in here.
Seek and you shall find.
That's true. Okay, it said it's.
You know, when you're trying to look for that perfect outfit that you know is in your closet and you want to wear it, and you just find
it. And it's in your kids' room in their closet.
Right. They want to wear it.
All right. Rain check me on there when I promise y'all I'm gonna try to pull that verse. And Robbie, I'm taking a break. I ain't trying to find the verse no more, but I am gonna try to find it, right? But I promised some ZZs last week, right? My wife just got finished making them. I'm sending them to Auntie probably like tomorrow or something or whatever, or Monday. And then hopefully, man, I'm getting them out. I was just going, because it was taking so long, I had to wait for some stuff for eBay. I was just gonna buy the sisters some shirts or whatever, but you can only wear a t-shirt for like one day. The ZZs you can throw on every day, no matter what you wear. So I'm gonna stand firm and just send those. I don't know if you one of the people I promised, but I promised them, and I'm a man of my word. So just give me a little second, right? But uncircumcised and heart and ears, right? And actually, let me just get a verse that says uncircumcised and heart and ears. I wanted to find it in the Torah. That's where I wanted to find it. I wanted to find it in the Torah. But I know where it's Acts 7:51. Acts 7:51. Acts 7:51. And actually, I got one in the Old Testament. So Acts 7:51, and it reads, it says, ye stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, do ye always resist the Holy Spirit, even as your fathers did, so do ye. And this verse proves that the Holy Spirit was in the Old Testament. It said our fathers resisted it too. Right? Then go to Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 10. Like I said, I wanted to find it in the Torah, but I'm still trying to get it. But it's Jeremiah 6:10. To whom shall I speak and give warning that they may hear? Behold, their ear is uncircumcised and they cannot hearken. Behold, the word of the Lord is unto them as a reproach, and they have no delight in it. So the ears that can't hear, right? That's because their ears ain't circumcised. I don't know if y'all knew that concept, but it is in the Bible. But now let's go back to Romans 2 so I can finish Romans 2 out. Because I got sidetracked, but
Romans 2.
Yeah, Romans 2:25. Because basically what this saying is, you ain't an Israelite just because you born one. You got to keep the laws. That's what this is saying, right? Because go up to verse, scroll up. I think it's like verse 5 or something. It says, for the hearers, scroll down a little bit. For many sin without the law perish. It says for who do the law. Scroll a little bit more down. There we go. Verse 13. For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified. This is a cut for people saying the law can't justify you. For the hearers of the law are just before, for the hearers of the law are just before God. For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law are just shall be justified. Now scroll down to verse 25 so I can get that and close it out. So it says, for circumcision verily profiteth thou keep the law, but if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcised. Therefore, if the uncircumcised keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcised be counted for circumcision? So if you're not circumcised, right, physically, but if you keep in that law, spiritually, you're considered circumcised. Verse 27, shall not the uncircumcised, which is by nature, if it feel, let me slow down, shall not uncircumcised, which is by nature, if it fulfills the law, judge thee by the letter of the law, and uncircumcised doest transgress the law, right? So by the letter of the law, circumcision doest transgress the law. That threw me for a loop. And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, be fulfilled through the law. Judge thee by the letter, and circumcision does. Paul's letters are hard to be understood sometimes. For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision, which is the outward in the flesh. But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, right? Keeping the commandments. And that circumcision is of the heart and of the spirit in the letter. And praise is not of men, but of God. But then it's a catch-22, because you cannot tell a person not to get circumcised, because circumcision is of the law, right? You can't tell a person not to keep the law. So if a person has, do I got to? Yes, you have to, right? if you ask, and yes, you have to, but the circumcision of the heart is the one that basically gets you saved. Because you can be circumcised all you want in the flesh, and you're not counted as circumcised because your heart isn't circumcised, right? So it's a spiritual thing, right?
Mhm.
But the point I wanted to make was people will go to Galatians, right? And they will say, oh, what is it? What did it say in Galatians 5:2? Christian will put it, Galatians 5:2. It said, one second. It says, behold, I Paul say unto you that if you be circumcised, Christ profit you nothing. For I testify to every man that is circumcised, he is a debtor to the whole law, right? So he's saying Christ, it's a better, he says plainly circumcision profits you nothing. Circumcision is nothing. Wow, he said this in Corinthians. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 7:19. Let's see what that says.
First Corinthians.
1 Corinthians 7:19. 7:19, kind. Let's see if we got some context. Pretty sure he's saying the same thing. Scroll up like 5 verses. I'm gonna read down. That was verse 19. So that's the unbelieving wife, not every surely every man the Lord.
18.
Yeah, kind. I'm gonna start at 18. Is any man called being circumcised? Let him not become uncircumcised. Is any man called uncircumcised? Let him not be circumcised. Circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing, but the keeping of the commandments of God. Let every man abide in the same calling where he was called. Or thou being called a servant. So that was a great explanation Paul just did, right? Because he basically told you it don't mean nothing if you ain't keeping the commandments, right? You got to keep the commandments in order for it to even apply. Let every man abide in the same calling where he was called. Or thou called a servant, called not for it, but if thou mayest be made free, use it rather. For he that calleth in the Lord, being a servant, is the Lord's free man. Likewise, he is also called being free, is Christ's servant. I agree with that. Even though we service of the Most High, we free. The truth shall make you free. Ye are brought with the price, and it's a cut to somebody still talking about the last verse in Deuteronomy 28. Don't mean redeemed, because the Most High said He bought us. He didn't literally purchase us, right? You are bought with the price. Be ye not servants of men, brethren. Let every man wherein he is called abide therein, abide in God. Now concerning virgins, I have no commandment of the Lord, yet I give my judgment. As for one hath obtained mercy of the Lord to be faithful. Bound to a wife. So above, he talking about the unbelieving wife, and then he finna continue talking about the wife, but he started talking about circumcision. This popped up, and I just wanted to read it. I thought he said something else, but he didn't. He explained it perfectly. So verse 19, circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing, but to the keeping of the commandments of God, right? So it don't mean if you circumcised, it don't mean nothing. If you uncircumcised, don't mean if you ain't keeping the commandments, back to me as an example. If I'm circumcised, supposedly keeping the law, right? But I'm out here eating pork, right? I'm eating and cooking pork on the Shabbat, right? My circumcision means nothing, right? But the keeping of the commandments, that's how you get it. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. Actually, I gotta because like I said, I freestyled this a little bit. So if y'all come across something, don't be afraid to hit me up like, you said, you know what I'm saying? Come back and we can get some understanding. But that's my understanding of it, y'all. What's Genesis 17 and 13, Auntie?
I think that's it say something about circumcision. Might be what you was looking for.
Can you pull it up?
Oh, my bad.
And the spiritual Israelite thing, right? Spiritual Israelite thing, there's no, okay, he that is born in thy house and he that is brought with money, he must be circumcised. My covenant shall be for in the flesh for an everlasting covenant. Right?
No,
actually, if you read up a verse, it says, and he that is 8 days old, because that's when Israelite boys supposed to be circumcised on the 8th day, shall be circumcised among you. Every man child in your generation, he that is born in thy house or born bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed. So even heathens, if we own them, our slaves got to keep the law. So let's just say you had some heathen slaves, they can't be eating pork, right? Like you know what I'm saying? They got to be keeping the law too, right? Your servants rest on the Sabbath. Your animals rest on the Sabbath, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how I go.
That's the only one I found.
Let me just get that real quick to prove it that your servants and your animals rest on the Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go to Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 14.
Deuteronomy.
Chapter 5, verse 14. And it reads, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy ox, nor thy ass, nor any of thy cattle, nor the stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservants and thy maidservants may rest as well as thou. So everybody rests on the Sabbath, right? It don't matter. It don't matter if it's a slave, your animal. Nobody works on the Shabbat, right? Mm-hmm. Not even your horse, right? And that's a law. So I just want to put that out there. And if nobody else ain't got nothing, I'm finna run it down. I'm finna run some of my favorite verses up. Can you go to Joel chapter 2, verse 27? Joel. Joel chapter 2, verse 27, and it reads, and ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I'm the Lord your God, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed, right? So he's the Lord our God, and none else. Go over to scroll over, because if you go over, you'll just run into Amos. Run to Amos 3 and 1. Amos 3 and 1 reads, hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up out of the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. Right? Actually, let me just get these verses out real quick. Because I came across a verse this week. What verse is it? Check out this verse, y'all. It's Jeremiah chapter 2. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse go with there. Verse 33. Jeremiah 2:33, right? Jeremiah 2:33. Now check this out, because you got a lot of Israelite camps out here that changed their doctrine to appease certain people, right? And I came across this verse, and it says, why trimmest thou? It says, why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? So why you taking away, right, from this just to get some love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways. You got a lot of people out here that's pandering, right? Pandering is a good word to use. There's a lot of people out here pandering, and they end up giving, because the wicked one ain't supposed to have his word. Go to Psalms chapter 50, verse 15. Chapter 50, verse 15. I believe it's 15 or 16. 16. But unto the wicked God says, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth? See, the wicked, when we finna find out who the wicked, they're not supposed to even take why are you even talking about it ain't for you, right? One more time. Psalms 50 and 16. But unto the wicked God says, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth? Why you even taking my covenant? Why is you even got my words in your mouth, right? That's what the Most High say to the wicked, right? Now let's go to Malachi chapter 1. Malachi like 1 and 4 to find out who the wicked one is. Malachi 1 and 4, it says, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we return and rebuild the desolate places, right? Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. So every time at the storm, they ask the white people, are you going to rebuild? And they be like, we're going to rebuild, because they can do that. We can't do no stuff like that, right? But the Most High said, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness. A border is where something ends and begins. The border of wickedness. That's what Edom going to be called. And the people whom the Lord have indignation forever. So the Most High going to have indignation, means righteous hate. He's going to have righteous hate for them forever, right? And I got one more breakdown, right, before on my last Sabbath, right? And it's about abhorring the Edomite, right? So we're going to need the blue letter. I'm going to show y'all something. So let's go to Deuteronomy 23, I believe, verse 7.
In the blue letter?
Yeah, you could, since we got to look up some words, you could just do it in a blue letter. And actually, give me like 45 seconds. I gotta, okay, I'll take 45 seconds at the end of the breakdown. I could get this one out first. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 23. There's a lot of doctrines come out of this. The Mamzer doctrine comes out of here. And then go to verse 7. It says, thou shalt not abhor Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land. So people go here, they say the word abhor means hate, and we can't hate Edomites, right? That's what they say, right? First off, let's look up at the word abhor.
Where is it at?
Abhor is in verse 7.
7.
Thou shalt not abhor, right? So let's look up the word abhor. It's at the top. It's a second word and a third word and second word in the verse. So H8581. Okay. To abhor, to do abominably, right? So that's what this word means. It doesn't mean to hate, it means to do abominably, right? And we're Israelites. We can't do abomination. We can't do nobody abominably. But that's not even the point of reason I brought y'all here. Let's go back. So that's not even what this verse says straight up. It doesn't say we can't hate Edomites. That's not what this verse says. But that's not even the reason I brought you here. That word for Edomite, now keep in mind, Edom was made in Genesis. This word for Edomite, this is the first time it's used in the Bible, right here. So go to Genesis 36. Go to Genesis 36:1. It says, now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom, right? That word for Esau and that word for Edom, that word in Deuteronomy 23, that's not none of these words in Hebrew. That word in Deuteronomy, that's the first time that word is used in the Bible. So it doesn't mean Esau and Edom, but I'm going to show you what it means. Go back to Deuteronomy 23:8. Yeah, I think it was 8, 23:7. It says, thou shalt not abhor Edomite, for he is thy brother. I'm going to show you where this, because this, actually click on the word. Click on the word Edomite.
Click on it.
Yeah, in verse 7. Look it up. Go down to the word Edomite. And I'm going to show you that this word is not used in Genesis. This is the first time this word is used in the Bible. Scroll all the way down to the first time it's used in the Bible.
All the way down?
Right there, you pass it up. Deuteronomy 23:7. That's the first time it's used in the Bible. Now scroll down and go to 2 Kings. Scroll down. It's a verse in 2 Kings. Right there. 2 Kings 16:6. That word is used for Syria, Assyrian. 2 Kings 16:2, 16:6. At that time, Rezin, the king of Syria, and this is the actual king of Syria, you can look up, recover Ethan to the Syrian. The word Edomite ain't even in his verse, but that word is in his verse. Right? Now go back. I'm going to show you why. Say Syria. Keep in mind, what was Abraham from? Syria. Where was Sarah and them from? What was everybody? Where was we from? I'm going to show you us being called Syrians in the Bible, because before we was established as a nation of Israelites, people used to call us Syrian because where we was from, right? So let me show you something. So on the surface, it don't even mean hate. So if somebody go here and say you can't hate Edomites, it don't even mean hate. It means abhor, right? I mean, it means to do abominably, like buck breaking. We ain't doing nobody abominably, right?
Right.
So give me a second. I'm gonna go on mute. I'm gonna find this verse where we call the Syrians in the Bible. All right, damn. All right, Deuteronomy 26:5. Now I'm gonna show you us being called Assyrians. 26:5. Because that's why it's called our brother, right? Because we basically, so this is Deuteronomy 26:5. And thou shalt speak and say before the Lord thy God, a Syrian made ready to perish was my father, and went down into Egypt and sojourned there with a few, and became there a nation, great, mighty, and populous. Because when we went into Egypt, we was only 70 souls, right? Let me get that. We was only 70 souls. We became a nation of people in Egypt. Right before that, we was considered Syrians. Exodus 1 and 5. Exodus 1 and 5, and it says, and all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already, right? So that's who went into Egypt, 70 souls, right? See if I can, that's cool. That's good enough, right? So 70 souls went into Egypt. So when you go to Deuteronomy, what was the verse we just read? Deuteronomy 26 and 5. Deuteronomy 26 and 5. It says, and thou shalt speak and say before the Yahweh thy God, a Syrian ready to perish was my father. And he went down into Egypt and sojourned there with a few and became there a nation, great, mighty, and populous. So that's the true understanding of it. And we was in Egypt. So when you go back to Deuteronomy 23 and 7, so go scroll back a couple chapters. Deuteronomy 23 and 7. Keep in mind, that word Edomite ain't even used in Genesis. When the Most High created nations, that word ain't used. Thou shalt not abhor, which don't mean hate, it means to do abominably, Edomite, which I believe is through what I just proved through looking up words in Assyrian. For he is thy brother, because we are Assyrians. Even our foremothers came from Syria. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land. That makes sense. We ain't even got to do a breakdown on that, right? So boom, that's my understanding. And when we read, so keep I'm gonna move to another point, but in the same chapter. Scroll up to verse 3. It says verse 2. A bastard, that word for bastard is a mamzer, which means an incest baby, not a mixed person, an incest baby. Bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even into the 10th generation, he shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. The proof that's an incest baby is the next verse. An Anamite and a Moabite, who are incest babies from their father Lot, right? Shall not enter the congregation of the Lord, even to the 10th generation shall they not enter the congregation of the Lord forever. So Moabites and Ammonites cannot come into the congregation forever because they are mamzers. But the point I brought up here is at the end of verse 2, it says, even to the 10th generation, he shall not enter the congregation of the Lord. A lot of people ain't got full understanding. They think the congregation is just living around Israelites. Living around Israelites is not the congregation, right? Heathens always been able to live around us in our land, but they are second-class citizens in our land, which we read earlier. They're not got the same privileges as us, right? But they're second-class citizens. I'm going to show you the congregation is the temple, right? They can't come into the temple. It's telling you these people can't come into the temple. It's not saying they can't come around us and live with us. No, it's telling you they can't come into the temple. Go to Lamentations chapter 1, verse 10.
Where's Lamentations? Oh, New Testament?
Old Testament. It's on the left side at the bottom, in the middle bottom.
Okay, my old pastor never took us here. Okay.
Lamentations 1 and 10. And this proves what the congregation is, right? So Lamentations 1 and 10. The adversary have spread out his hands upon the pleasant things. For she have seen that the heathen enter the sanctuary, whom thou commandest that thou shalt not enter into thy congregation. So the congregation is the sanctuary. It's not living around Israelites. It's the actual temple that they can't come in. Right. Because I was dealing with that abhor Edomite, and a lot of people, when they come into the truth, a lot of Israelite coons will hit them with that verse and they don't got the full understanding, nor do they not know that that word don't even appear in Genesis, right? Or they don't know about that 2 Kings chapter 16, or the Syrian breakdown. They don't know anything about that. They just think it's a Edomite and you can't hate them and I got a little white people, and that's not what the Bible teaches. Furthermore, that's why I wanted to go on mute. I wanted to pull out the verse where if they do try it, I can still argue that point with them. See, look, check this out. So check this out. Go to Amos 1 and 9. So even without looking up words and going deep into the Syrians, I can still argue the point. So this Amos chapter 1, verse 9. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgression of Tyrus is Africans. So just check it out. Tyrus is Africans, and for 4 I will not turn away my punishment thereof, because thou delivered the whole captivity to Edom. So it's selling. This is second place. You remember, Auntie, I took you another place in Joel where it talked about Africans selling us to white people, right? Or go another place, them talking about selling us to white people. One more time. Thus saith the Lord, thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4 I will not turn away my punishment thereof. So they gonna get it, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, and remember not the brotherly covenant. So if there was a brotherly covenant, they broke it, right? For I will send a fire to the walls of Tarsus and shall devour the palaces thereof. So he's gonna destroy those Africans. Verse 11. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away my punishment thereof. So it ain't no Edomites getting saved. Well, Esau can't even repent. He found no place of repentance. So they're going to get their punishment. Here go another place, the Most High saying he ain't going to turn it away. I will not turn away my punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword and did cast off all pity. And his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept the wrath forever, right? Mm-hmm. So that's, now I got one more verse. Give me I'm gonna go on mute. I gotta find this verse. But it's the same point. It's the same point, same topic. Hopefully y'all taking notes. Or it's gonna be on replay, right, Auntie?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, can you go to 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 3. 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 3. Check out this verse. Same topic though, right? So 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 3. It says, actually go up to 2 or 1. Let me see if I need to read from the first one. Yeah, let me just start at 1. It says, Samuel also said unto Saul, the Lord sent me to anoint thee to be king over his people, over Israel. Now, therefore, hearken unto the voice of the word of Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid. Now, Amalek is Edomites. This is a tribe of Esau, right? Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I remember which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. Now go and smite Amalek. Smite means kill. And utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant, suckling, ox, sheep, camel, and ass. He told us to kill every one of them, and their kids, and their animals. So obviously what a regular, Canaanite think that Deuteronomy 23 means is not what it means, unless God is schizophrenic or something. So I can argue both points, but yeah, we ain't commanded to love no dang on devils. Ooh, should I? Y'all know how the Bible say we say the white man is the devil? Okay, we say the white man is the devil the Bible speaks of. Let me show y'all something. Go to Genesis 25. I'm going to show you the first time the word devil used in the Bible and what it say. So Genesis 25, go down to 25. Huh?
So that when they say devil, they're not talking about with the pitchfork and the horns and.
Well, it ain't no devil with pitchfork and the horns. The word devil means deceiver.
Okay.
So he is the deceiver, but I'm finna show you like the Bible, right? I'm finna show you this. I'm finna show you some of the. I'm just finna show you some of the Bible, right? I'm glad we in a blue letter too. So and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they call his name Esau. I don't prove Esau by color at all. I prove it by prophecy, right? But the point of it is, and if you look up a hairy garment in the book of Exodus, it's ram skin that we dyed with blood, right? So it's literally the color when white people get mad, but I don't prove color because color ain't the point, right? But Harry. Can you look up this word Harry garment for me?
Look it up in Google.
In the Hebrew, right?
Oh.
Yeah, look it up in the Hebrew. I'm gonna show you something.
Garment 25. H155.
My bad. I ain't even looking at the screen. Yeah. Look. Hold on. Go back up. This is for Harry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go back, Auntie.
Okay.
Go back to the verse. Okay. Verse 25, and the first came out red all over like Harry going. So click the verse. Interlinear. We're finna go to. You looked up the word Harry. Look up the word Harry.
I think I looked up garment, like a garment. Oh, look up red. What?
No, look up Harry.
Harry.
Let me do this. I ain't did this breakdown in a while. Let me.
I got a question before we go. Yeah.
I have no idea what happened.
Oh.
But I'm back though. So this is the first time the word. No. This 18:18, right? Can you go to Leviticus 17:7?
Leviticus.
This is the first time the word devil is used in the Bible. Leviticus 17:7. Look up that word. Go click on it. It says, "Shall no more sacrifice shall be sacrificed unto the devils." Right? Look up that word devils. Harry, go. It's like Esau, the hairy garment. Devil is hairy. I don't know how that correlates, right? And go scroll back up. Can you push that word? How you say that word? Oh, we can't hear it.
It's saying something like Sa'ir.
Now go back to Genesis for that word Harry and push the same thing and watch this. It's basically the same word.
What was it? Genesis?
Letters are the same. Genesis 25 and 25. And it's just me trying to connect some dots, right? I'm not saying this is concrete. We could push Harry. It's the same word, Seir.
Yeah.
There ain't no E in Hebrew, so that E ain't there. Same word for devil was the same word that described Esau when he was born. But as I said, this is not something that I think y'all should take with y'all and teach somebody else. This is just what I say, right? I'm gonna end it there, but yeah, that's just what I say, right?
I have a question. Okay, so I hear them talking about Gog and Magog for this war. Who is that, and where can I find it in the Bible? They say it's in the Bible.
Let's go to Revelations 21 real quick.
Gog and Magog. Okay.
Let's go to Revelations 20, I believe. Revelations 20. Gog is the land of Russia. Magog is the person that runs it.
Okay. Gog.
Right. So that war that's happening, that like this prophecy that we going to war with Russia. Gog is the land of Russia. Magog is the ruler. Like Putin can be Magog, but we don't know when it's gonna happen. So it could be the nigga after Putin, or it could be Putin, right? But that's what it is. So Revelation, go back. Can you go back to the regular Bible, Auntie? Because we ain't got to look up no more words. Okay. And go to Revelations chapter 20, I believe. Start at 1. Okay. Now this book is written in an allegory, so the 1,000 years are not in succession. So it was written like it happens one behind each other, but it's not. So let's go through it, right? I end on this chapter. So we finna read the whole chapter. It's Revelations 21. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having a key to the bottomless pit and great chains in his hand. And he laid hold of the dragon, the old serpent, which is the devil, Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, right? This, from my understanding, is when they went to the Caucasus Mountains for 1,000 years, right? They was up in, we got them in the mountains, and we ruled this earth for 1,000 years without white people. It's called the Byzantine Empire, the Dark Ages, whatever you want to call it, from around 400, 500 BCE to around 1500, 1400 BCE. The black people ruled this earth without white people. And then when they came out the mountains, that's when the Renaissance started. They started whitewashing everything, and they started killing all us and taking us in slavery. So if anybody confused about how King James was a black man ruling Scotland and England, the reason is because white people were not even around during that time. They were in the Caucasus Mountains, which is why they call themselves Caucasians, and they don't want to be known as Caucasians because you can trace them back to the mountains. They cavemen. That's why they want you to call them white. We be called black because white is good and black is bad, right? But verse 3, and cast them into the bottomless pit and shut them up. Now keep in mind, this is a parable. It's not literal, right? So that's not literally a bottomless pit, right? It's parabolic, right? Cast him into a bottomless pit and shut him up, and set a seal up on him, and he should not deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years shall be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosened for a season. So after that 1,000 years, he was loosened, and that's right now. For I saw the thrones, and they sat upon them, and the judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that which were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua and for the word of Yahweh, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received marks on their foreheads, nor in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. That's talking about the mark of the beast, right? Some people got the ideology of the mark of the beast being Christianity and the ways of society. Some people believe the mark of the beast is the chip. I kind of lean on both, and I say don't go with now one of them, right? Don't get no chip in Christianity and all of the ways of this world. That's the mark, right? But if you look it up in Hebrew, it does say charagma, which is an incision. But when you get real deep into it, it can't be just that, because it's a spiritual meaning behind it, right? But that's why I lean towards both. So it said these people didn't get that. Verse 5. But the rest of the dead lived not again till the 1,000 years were finished. And this is the first resurrection. So now it's switching context, talking about the first resurrection. This is talking about Yahushua, because we're going to reign, well, the people that make it the first go around, right? You're going to reign with Yahushua the first 1,000 years. And after that 1,000 years we reign, that's from my understanding, that's when judgment happens. And when everybody is, not just the righteous, but the wicked is resurrected too, right? But we finna get into that. And it shall, and he, so, what verse are we at?
6.
What verse? 6. Blessed and holy is he that have part in the first resurrection. No such the second death have no power, but they shall be priests of God in Christ and shall reign with them 1,000 years. So blessed and holy is he that have part in the first resurrection. So if you resurrected and you reign with Christ that first 1,000 years, you blessed. Verse 7, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosened out of his prison. He shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, right? Gog, like I said, Gog is the land, Magog is the ruler, right? This is talking about the land of Russia. Now, now let me give you a history lesson. Originally, Gog and Magog was Japhet, just like the original Greeks were Japhet, right? The original Europeans are not white; they're black people. If you go to archaeology and look up at their paintings and their pottery, they painted these are black people. But right before the Greek slavery, right after the Persian slavery, right before the Greek, that's when Alexander the Great, he went and conquered them, and he became a Greek, just like white people today. They conquered America. They $5 Indians, and they South Africans, and they anything but they self, right? So, but make a long story short, the original Gog and Magog, or the original people that are from that land, are brown people. But Esau ended up, killing them and taking their land and taking their heritage. And that's why Gog and Magog, now that, because the people that are in that land anciently are not the people there today, right? Just like the Palestinians in the Bible are Africans, but the Palestinians today are Arabs, right? So the people, if you pick a place over there, the Egyptians, right? The Egyptians are Africans. Everybody know that. But if you go to Africa right now today, Africans ain't there. It don't even look like it's an African country because there ain't no black people there. It's white people. It's Ottoman Turks there. That's who, the white people and some Arabs. That's who's there, Ottoman Turks.
You talking about in Egypt?
In Egypt, right? But what I'm showing you, what I'm trying to say is, the point I'm trying to make is, the ancient people of these lands are not the modern people of these lands. It's like America. The ancient people of America are not the people that reside here today. Some of them are, but predominantly, it's the people that stole this place.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying?
Just like Israel.
Say that again.
Just like Israel.
Just like Israel. The people originally of the land, which is us, which is us, are not the people that's in the land now. Perfect example, right? So that's the understanding of Gog and Magog. Because if you look up Gog and Magog, traditionally, historically in the Bible, it's Japhet. But as of today, it's Esau, right? So boom. And they went up but the breadth of the earth encompassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city, and a fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them were cast into the lake of fire and brimstone. Speaking of brimstone, a sidebar. I don't know if anybody know, but they found Sodom and Gomorrah, right? And the Bible says it rained fire and brimstone onto Sodom and Gomorrah. Brimstone is sulfur, right? And Sodom and Gomorrah, they got sulfur that's 100. Sulfur is usually like a yellowish tint. They got white sulfur there, right? And it's 100%. And they didn't even know 100% sulfur existed. The place where Sodom and Gomorrah is the only place where they can find on this earth 100% sulfur, which lines perfectly up with the Bible. Sulfur is brimstone. But verse 10 again, and the devil that deceived them were cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beasts and the false prophets are, and they were tormented day and night forever. And I saw a great white throne, and I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, whose face the earth and the heavens fled away, and there was found no place for them. That's Yahweh. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the book was open, and another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the book according to their works, right? And that's what we trying to get. We trying to get our name in the book of life. We ain't trying to get our name. And your name could be in the book of life and get blotted out. That's why you got to endure to the end, right? So it says, and the dead were judged out of those things which are written in the book according to their works, commandments. And the sea gave up the dead were rich in it, because it's people that died from sailing, right? And the death and hell. There's a cut to people that say hell is, the place where you go be forever. Well, hell going into the lake of fire. Death and hell were delivered up, the dead which were in them, and they were judged, every man according to his works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And if you read up, it says, blessed are they that have blessed are they that take part in the first resurrection. For the second death, that ain't a good thing, because the second death is you go into the lake of fire. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire, right? And from my understanding, these are only Israelites, right? From my understanding, that's who would be judged, because the other nations, Most High judge people as nations. The other nations' judgments are already set in stone. We are the only people that's getting judged individually. Work out your own salvation, you know what I'm saying? Because, you could be in a camp, but that doesn't mean everybody in your camp is getting saved, right? Because you got a good teacher. That ain't how it works.
Right.
But yeah, that's my answer. Gog and Magog. Gog is the land, Magog is the ruler, right? So that war that's prophesied to happen, just like Exodus, 2nd Ezra 13 that we read, and Joel chapter 3, when the Most High gonna gather all the nations into the valley of Jehoshaphat and plead for his people Israel, right? That war that's gonna happen, you dig what I'm saying? Because you got to understand, Babylon gonna be destroyed by the time that happens. The first thing that happens, from my understanding, is Babylon being destroyed. This place gonna be on fire. This place get destroyed first, and then those other battles happen. Because if you read Revelation chapter 18, it tells you that the other nations gonna be looking at this place when it's gone, and like it was there an hour ago. Go back to Revelations 18, two chapters before this. Babylon get destroyed first. So scroll down. Boom, boom. Here we go. At last. Verse 16.
Okay.
I'm gonna start at 15. 14. And the fruits of 15. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for fear of the torment and weeping and wailing, and shall say, Alas, alas, the great city that was clothed in fine linen, the purple, the scarlet, and decked in gold, the precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour such great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as did trade by the sea, were so afraid. So all the other nations they're gonna be looking at this place get destroyed. So from my understanding of prophecy, this place get destroyed, and then all this sequence of events happens after that, where Yahweh Shai, destroying the governments of this world and all. Because you got to understand, when we get to our land, all these other governments gonna cease to exist. About time we come out of the Exodus, second Exodus, in the wilderness, because we got to go to a wilderness after this. Let me prove that before I get up in this. Let me prove that we got to go to a wilderness after here. Give me 1 second. It's just basically the same thing that happened the first time finna happen again. Okay, can you go to Ezekiel chapter 34? Ezekiel chapter 34. Ezekiel 34. Ezekiel 34. What's that, 25? Just can you click on 25? I think I need to start it. No. Yeah, Ezekiel 34 and 25. No, that ain't it. Give me 1 second, y'all. Ezekiel 20. Go to Ezekiel 20 and 38. Ezekiel chapter 20. I'm going to start at 36. Like as I pleaded with your fathers, and can you scroll up? I probably need to go up before 36. I'm going to start at 33. As I live, saith the Lord, surely with the mighty hand and with the stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. And I will bring you out from the people and will gather you from out of the countries wherein you were scattered, with the mighty hand and with stretched out arms and with fury poured out. And I will bring you to the wilderness of the people, and there I will plead with you face to face. So this is the second wilderness. So when he gathers us, we ain't just going to our land, right? We going to another wilderness. Verse 35, and I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there I will plead with you face to face, just like he did with Moses, right? Because you remember the first commandments we got from the Most High, and then we got scared and asked us, as told Moses to go up there as a mediator, right? So face to face. Like as I plead with your fathers in the wilderness in the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith the Lord Yahweh. And I will cause you to pass under the rod and will bring you into the bond of the covenant. So this is when we go into the new covenant. The bond of the covenant, right? Because the covenant already started, right? Just like the first covenant. The Most High made the first covenant with Abraham, but it wasn't solidified to like 400 and some years later in the wilderness with Moses, right? So with same thing with Yahushua. He died to kick it off, but it don't come into fruition, right? Until we in the wilderness. So verse 37, I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant, and I will purge out from among you rebels and them that transgress me. So this proves that some of the people that get saved from here, everybody ain't gonna be righteous. It's gonna be some people, it's gonna be some Israelites that ain't, you know what I'm saying, ain't totally all the way right with the Most High. And he gonna purge, just like how he got rid of some Israelites in the first wilderness, he gonna get rid of some Israelites in this wilderness. So verse 38, I will purge out from among you the rebels, from among them that transgress me, and I will bring them forth out of the country whether they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. As for you, O house of Israel, thus saith the Lord God, go ye serve everyone his idols, and hereafter also, if ye will not hearken to me, but pollute ye my holy name, and no more with you the gifts which are idols. For in my holy mountain, and in the mountain of the heights of Israel, saith the Lord God, there shall all the house of Israel, all of them in the land, serve me, and I will accept them. And there I will require your offerings and first fruits and oblations with all your holy things. And I will accept you and your sweet savor. And I will bring you out from the people and will gather you out from the countries whether I have scattered. And I will sanctify you before the heathens. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh, and I shall bring you into the land of Israel, to the country for the which I have lifted up my hand to give to your fathers. And there ye shall remember your ways and all your doings. Therein ye have been defiled, and ye shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for all the evils you have committed. He said, we're going to be hating ourselves for going against them. And ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh when I have wrath with you. Can you scroll up? Is that the last verse of this? No. Okay. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh when I have wrath with you for my name's sake, not according to your wicked ways, nor according to the corrupt doings, O ye Israel, saith the Lord. Because to be for real, he's showing mercy on us just by saving us and not killing us, because we deserve way more than what he given us. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face towards the south, and drop thy word towards the south, and prophesied against the forests of the south field. And say to the forests of the south, hear the word of Yahweh, saith the Lord God Yahweh, behold, I will kindle a fire in thee, and it shall devour every green tree in thee, and every dry tree, and flame shall not be quenched, and all faces from the south to the north shall be burned therein, and all flesh shall see that I am the Lord have kindled it, and it shall not be quenched. Then said I, our Lord, they say of me, doeth he not speak in parables? But yeah, the point I went here to make is we go into a second wilderness after we leave here, right? So we basically nickname it the second Exodus. But the first thing that happened in the first Exodus when he saved us from Egypt, that's why this place is called Egypt. Spiritually, Sodom and Egypt. Sodom is the homosexuality. Egypt is the slavery. That's why the pyramid on the back of the dollar the dollar bill literally mocks Israelites. The $1 bill mocks us. That's why the pyramid is on the back of that. The only reason that pyramid is on the back of a dollar, because the same people that built that pyramid built this country. It's a mocking towards us, right? But yeah, we leaving here. We going, same thing that happened in Egypt. That's why this place is likened to Egypt, because the same thing that happened in Egypt finna happen here. And the Israelites need to be getting themselves prepared for that, right? Because we the only people that's eligible to get saved from here. Everybody else dying in Babylon. The only people that's eligible to get saved from this place are Israelites. Everybody else dying here. All praises. And I'm finna end it on that, y'all. I got another live stream to attend. I ain't teaching, but my teacher teaching, right? So all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. That's the name of the Father and the name of his Son, our Savior, who we call Christ, right? Kwam Yashala. And Kwam Yashala means Israel rise, or rise Israel. Kwam Yashala. Yasharala is Israel, and Kwam, Q-A-M means rise. So rise Israel. And that's what we doing. We rising up.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala. Right? And all praises for everybody coming in and joining the Sabbath service, right? We actually let me end on the last verse of saying why we do the Sabbath, right? Let me end on this 1 second. It's a sign between us and the Most High forever. Okay, we need to turn to the book of Exodus, chapter 31, verse 14. Actually, can you go to, I like Ezekiel better. Can you go to, we was in Ezekiel 1 with 20. Can you go to Ezekiel 20 and 12?
Ezekiel.
On that phone.
Yeah, we went through some stuff today, y'all.
Yep.
Right. 20 and 12.
Yeah, Ezekiel 20 and 12, and it reads, moreover, also I give them my Sabbaths to be a sign between me and them, that they may know that I'm the Lord their God that sanctify them. Actually, I like the, can you go to Exodus 31 and 14? I think I like that one better. Exodus 31 and 14. And it reads, and ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth, it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, their soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but the Sabbath is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. We all know holy means separate, so this day is separate. Holy unto Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath, he shall surely be put to death. Therefore, the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. It shall be a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. And for in 6 days the Lord Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. And he gave it unto Moses when he made an end of communion with him on Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone written with the finger of Yahweh. So it's a sign between us, the Most High, and the children of Israel forever. And that's why we do this, because we Israelites, right? We made a covenant and we trying to hold up our end of the bargain. Right. With that, Kwam Yasharala.
Kwam Yasharala.
All right, Shabbat Shalom, y'all.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Goodbye.